Welcome to episode 168 of EDH Commander Challenge. I'm your host, BT. We return to the tournament this week at long last, with another quarterfinal matchup. There are only 2 spots that are left to make it into the top 4. Who will take them? Who will reach one step closer to being the first ever Patreon EDHCC Undisputed Champion? Well, let's not waste any more time, and let's jump into those opening hands. First, in this corner, with an opening hand of a forest, island, mystic sanctuary, fertile ground, acidic slime, as foretold, Kasmina's transmutation, and his Timur-style general, Xyris the Writhing Storm. He is represented by the perfectionist Phil. He is the undeniable Casey McClara. Next, in this corner, with an opening hand of a forest, swamp, myriad landscape, mosswort bridge, Loxodon Warhammer, Thought Vessel, Waste Not, and his Golgari-style general Grismold the Dreadsower. He is represented by the mad scientist Francis. He is the big monster, Dean Dobson. Phil won the dice roll to start us off, so let's begin another tournament-style card fight. For their first turns, Phil plays a forest, while Francis plays a tapped mosswort bridge and hides away a card. Phil plays an island and casts Fertile Ground on said island, giving him some more ramp. While Francis plays a swamp and casts Golgari Signet, also on the ramp plan. Phil starts his turn by casting As Foretold. Then he plays a tapped Simic Growth Chamber, bouncing a forest back to his hand. While Francis plays a swamp and casts Thought Vessel, followed by his general Grismold. Then he passes, which triggers its ability, as during the end step, each player gets a 1/1 green plant token. During his upkeep, Phil gets his first time counter on his As Foretold. Then he replays his forest and casts Kasmina's Transmutation, basically turning Grismold into a 1/1 frog creature with no abilities. Hashtag Blue Kermit. Then he passes. Francis plays a forest and casts Harmonize to draw 3 new cards. Then he casts Waste Not and passes. During his upkeep, Phil gets his second time counter on his As Foretold. And thanks to his Fertile Ground being able to tap for a red mana, he casts Wildfire Devils. He calls odds on Francis and evens on himself, and rolls a die. It's odds, so as Francis only has Harmonize in his graveyard as an instant or sorcery to choose from, he chooses it. Phil gets to cast it for free, and then exile it, drawing 3 cards. No! Then he passes. Francis plays a swamp and casts Beast Within to destroy the As Foretold, and grant Phil a 3/3 Beast token. Then, desperate to get Grismold back online, he casts Eliminate on his own general and passes, hoping to get his strategy back online starting next turn. During his upkeep, Phil triggers his Devils, but ends up choosing himself, but has no instants or sorceries to use with it. So instead, he plays a forest and moves into combat. He attacks Francis with all of his creatures. Francis blocks the devils with his plant token and takes 4 damage. Then in his second main phase, Phil casts the Locust God and passes. Francis starts his turn off by playing a tapped Myriad Landscape and casts one of my favorite green creatures, Avenger of Zendikar. With its ETB, he gains 6 0/1 plant tokens and passes. During the end step, however, Phil casts Pongify to destroy the Avenger and replace it with a 3/3 green Ape token. During his upkeep, Phil triggers his Devils once more, with his roll this time choosing Francis. The Mad Scientist then chooses to Eliminate in the graveyard, which Phil gets to cast, exiling the card, and killing the very Ape token he just gave to Francis. Then by drawing, his Locust God gains him a 1/1 flying, hasty, red and blue insect creature token. Then he plays Cascade Bluffs and casts Acidic Slime. And with its ETB, he blows up Francis's Myriad Landscape that he played last turn. Then he moves into combat and attacks Francis with his Locust God, Devils, and all of his tokens except the insect. Francis declares no blocks and takes a massive 12 damage. #ouch. Then Phil passes. Francis decides to make this a ramp turn and casts both Explosive Vegetation and Sylvan Scrying. With the Vegetation, he grabs a pair of basics from his deck to put into play tapped. And with the Scrying, he adds Temple of the False God from his deck to his hand, which he plays as his land for the turn. Finally, he casts Loxodon Warhammer before passing. During his upkeep, Phil triggers his Devils once again. It ends up with himself being chosen, so he exiles and casts Pongify, basically exchanging his 1/1 token for a 3/3. Then by drawing, he gets another insect token thanks to his Locust God. He then plays an island and casts his general, Xyris. Then he casts Spring Bloom Druid, and thanks to its ETB, he gets to sacrifice an island to go grab some basics from his deck into play tapped, including a snow-covered mountain. Then he moves into combat and attacks Francis with everything except his Druid and General, and of course his new Ape token. Francis blocks the Slime, Devils, and Beast token with 3 of his plant tokens, and takes 6 damage before passing. Francis plays a tapped Jungle Hollow, gaining 1 life, and casts Zendikar's Resurgent, doubling his mana. Then he finally recasts his general Grismold. With the Resurgent trigger, he also gets to draw a card. Finally, he equips Grismold with his Loxodon Warhammer and passes. And during the end step, Grismold distributes a plant token to each player. During his upkeep, Phil uses his Devils again, but chooses himself after his roll and has no instants or sorceries engraved to use. He then draws, gaining another insect token thanks to his Locust God, and then he casts Curse of the Swine for 1, simply destroying Grismold and replacing him with a 2/2 Poogie, aka Boar token. Then, for good measure, he plays Mystic Sanctuary and uses its effect to place the curse back on top of his deck to reuse next turn in case Francis has any new threats. Then he moves into combat and attacks Francis with all of his flyers and his 2/3/3 tokens. Francis blocks both 3/3s and takes the 10 damage from the air. Xyris then triggers, which has each player draw 3 cards, and Phil gains 3 1/1 snake tokens. In his second main phase, he then casts Thassa Deep Dwelling and passes. During the end step, Thassa's effect triggers, and she basically blinks his acidic slime, and when it ETBs again, he destroys Francis' Zendikar Resurgent, which greatly saddens the mad scientist. In a shocking turn of events, Francis reveals he didn't draw any tutors or any board wipes, even off the extra 3 cards he just got via the effect of Xyris. And as he can't survive another combat phase as there's too many creatures that fly, he decides to scoop it up, as Phil and Casey take the 3rd spot in the top 4. I know I'm supposed to be impartial here, and for the most part I am, but I am not going to lie. I was heartbroken for Francis. Everything, and I mean everything he did, was read and countered in some way, shape, or form. We had a glimmer of hope when he played Zendikar Resurgent, but alas, it was not to be. Phil, on the other hand, dominated here, playing a strong control-based strategy that made it feel like he was a puppeteer the whole game. Also, that Wildfire Devils is an amazing card. Being able to reuse cards of your own or your opponent's every turn is great. I'll have to get one for myself very soon. Do you agree with our picks? Let us know in the comments down below. Also, if you enjoy our content, consider becoming a patron. For cool things like bonus entries into giveaways, entries into our tournaments, and your nickname at the end of each video as part of our EDHCC club, and so much more. That's it for this week. There's only 1 spot left to make it into the semifinals. Who is going to take it? Find out next week. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay warm, stay safe, and keep on card gaming. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If you're a fan of EDH gameplay and you like whether it be 1v1 or multiplayer and you want to be part of the ever-growing Commander Challenge family, just make sure you smash the subscribe button and notification bell down below. We do weekly videos. Don't forget as well to like, comment, share our videos, but most importantly, enjoy them. On behalf of all of our members here, I'm your host, BT. Feel free to check out all of the videos in the channel, join our game, it's now your turn. Cheers!